24 hours, Putin and China will change everything. Yes, tomorrow, a BRICS lightning bolt will shock the Western hegemony that's been ruling the world for decades. The Western media is totally ignoring the story, by the way, because they don't want to admit what's about to happen. Goldman Sachs, though, understands it, and they believe that by the year 2050, the BRICS nations will dominate the global economy. So on Tuesday, yes, tomorrow, the BRICS summit officially kicks off in South Africa. This is the first face-to-face BRICS summit since the start of COVID, and we are about to witness a rebalancing of the world order. The agenda items at this summit are massive. The currency, yes, a new currency, trade, military cooperation, AI, microchips, oil, all of it, infrastructure, rail lines, shipping. This is a big, big deal. And the United States, I guess, didn't get an invitation. The British didn't get an invitation. Germany isn't welcome. Is the game over for the Western hegemony? Well, the writing is on the wall. Now, for those of you that don't know, BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And it started out small over a decade ago, and now it's become the greatest threat to Western power that we've ever seen. And I'm not talking about military power here, which we'll get to in a second. I'm actually talking about economic power, oil power, computer power, trade power, the greatest weapons of all, not those bombs. Now, the top of the agenda is the United States dollar, squarely in the crosshairs. Here's how Foreign Policy magazine headlines this moment. A BRICS currency could shake the dollar's dominance. The de-dollarization moment might finally be here. Really? Is it true? After all, talk of getting rid of the US dollar as a reserve currency goes back to the 1960s. Here's the New York Times. In 1968, talking about France trying to separate itself from the US dollar. Yes, French President Charles de Gaulle versus Lyndon Johnson. That's how old this is. That's how far back this goes. This isn't new at all. But now we are at a tipping point. Brazil's president, Lula da Silva, says that every night he asks himself why all of these countries have to base their trade on the US dollar. Can you imagine every night before going to bed, that's the thought that you have? Well, he does. Well, now they don't. A gold-backed currency that stands as the backbone of a new BRICS currency is being rolled out in earnest. Brazil, Russia, China, India, South Africa, trading oil, computer chips, minerals, and settling those transactions in a reserve currency that has nothing to do with the US dollar. All of the previous meetings of these BRICS nations have been leading up to this moment in South Africa.
BRICS countries are home to more than 3.2 billion people, around 40% of the global population. None of the bloc's members is in the G7, the group of 7 advanced economies. To increase its influence, BRICS is considering bringing new members into the fold.
Just look at the trade between the BRICS nations. There's a massive financial surplus. The BRICS nations have a trade surplus. Brazil just hit a record trade surplus. So why would they want to settle these transactions with US dollars? Doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, Europe's trade deficit has hit a new record. Nearly $500 billion trade deficit. Which side would you rather be on? Of course, this isn't happening overnight, and there are big impediments to a BRICS currency. The biggest issue right now is that if Russia wants to import things from other countries that are not named China, they'll likely have to settle it in US dollars if they want to import those items. But what if more countries want to join BRICS and ditch the US dollar? Then there's safety in numbers, and the number of people you're doing imports from are part of your BRICS conglomerate. In fact, other countries are noticing and beginning to join. At this summit, Russia and China are expected to approve the new applications of a bunch of new countries into BRICS. Algeria, Bahrain, Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, just to name a few. They've all submitted requests for membership to be a part of BRICS. And the Turkish government has expressed an interest in joining the group. Those are just a few of the names. But wrap your heads around this one. More than 40 other countries are now vying to join BRICS. 40.
Samita, what are you hearing about just how much bigger BRICS could get?
Well, we've heard from leadership here at the BRICS, this Foreign Ministers BRICS Summit, that at least 19 countries have expressed either formally or informally interest in either joining the BRICS grouping or even having involvement with the BRICS Development Bank, which really is aimed at investing in the global south, in developing nations to boost their economies. And this is one of the reasons that BRICS is becoming increasingly attractive to developing nations.
BRICS now accounts for 31% of global GDP. And just a few months ago, they overtook the United States and the G7 nations for GDP dominance. Goldman Sachs, once again, won't have to wait until 2050. It's already happening. Beyond a gold-backed currency and moving away from the US dollar, one of the biggest stories of this summit in South Africa is AI, generative AI. It's one of their top agenda items. They're holding many meetings on AI this week in South Africa. BRICS wants to dominate AI. And who do you think will be the leader of the AI revolution? China. China announced that it wants to become the global leader in AI by the year 2030. They made this very public pronouncement. And I don't know if you know anything about China, but they are a communist country. And when a communist country makes a public pledge like this, it's all about prestige. So they must make it happen to save face. Yeah, there's no, we missed our target. They have to make it happen. Surprisingly, this was already well known in Washington, D.C., at the Pentagon, in fact. A major threat to America, China becoming the dominant player in AI. In fact, an Air Force cybersecurity whistleblower warned the Pentagon 2 years ago, said that we must make AI a priority or China will crush us. Here he is. His name is Nicholas Chalin. He warned everyone. No one listened to him. He saw what was happening, and because no one paid attention, he quit in protest. He quit because he thought it was impossible for the United States to compete with China on AI. In this article, he says, quote, "We have no competing fighting chance against China in 15 to 20 years. Right now, it's already a done deal. It's already over, in my opinion," he said. Chalin went on to say that the AI capabilities and cyber defenses of some government departments were at the kindergarten level. He said, kindergarten. He recently said that China has kids as young as 7 years old starting on learning AI and machine learning. 7 years old. He says the United States doesn't stand a chance unless it doesn't get its act together.
Interesting to see that China is not wasting that kind of time, and they're not waiting for us to figure it out, and they're taking this very seriously, including having their kids starting at 7 years old be trained on AI and machine learning. So when you start thinking that kind of investment and really the understanding that whichever country is going to be leading AI and ML will be controlling the planet.
Let me repeat what he just said. Whoever leads in AI will rule the planet, he said. The BRICS nations, getting rid of the US dollar as a reserve currency, build a new trade and military security and infrastructure alliance, and dominating world's AI. Europe and the United States are shaking in their boots, and they should be. This week in South Africa is going to be a game changer, and we'll be watching it very closely here on this show.
Para creer en el sueño americano tienes que estar dormido. Y aquí Karen nos va a explicar por qué ella se siente descorazonada con el sueño americano. Lo cual, digo, para cualquier persona que está despierta, no debería ser sorpresa, ¿verdad? Tienes literalmente que estar dormido para creer todavía en el sueño americano. Pero vamos a ver qué nos dice la tía Karen.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent. Yes, my kids are grown adults. My oldest is 28, my youngest is 25. And I thought by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're going to get the things in life that you need, right?
Ok, básicamente dice, estoy desesperado. Mis dos hijas, 25 y 28, están teniendo dificultades. Y yo pensé, como mamá, que si yo les enseñaba aquellas cosas que a mí me ayudaron como joven, saldrían adelante. Porque yo salí adelante con esas cosas. Trabajo duro, esfuerzo, meritocracia, ¿no? Si yo les cuento el mito de la meritocracia, ellas van a salir adelante. Pero, spoiler.
It worked for me, why wouldn't it work for them? Because it doesn't. Because the world has fucking changed, all right?
Porque no, porque el mundo ha cambiado. Básicamente a todos tus tíos y tu papá que te dice, ¿cómo, mijo? Tú ya tienes 30 y todavía no tienes casa propia, jajaja. Yo a los 28 tenía 4 hijos y hacía carnes asadas todos los domingos. Papá, el mundo ha cambiado. El mundo ha cambiado. Sí, el poder adquisitivo está estancado desde hace 70 años y el costo de los inmuebles ha aumentado 300%. Es obvio que no tengo casa propia. Por las decisiones que tu generación tomó, no tengo casa propia.
Quería también tratar un poco cuáles son las cuestiones de más actualidad en este sentido. ¿Cuáles son las últimas noticias que hemos recibido? En el día de ayer, este fin de semana, se ha hablado de la posibilidad de que Dinamarca y Países Bajos vayan a mandar esos cazas F-16. Efectivamente, así lo han confirmado ambos gobiernos. Claro, hoy Rusia ha reaccionado, dice que esto agravaría el conflicto. Pero, ¿cómo estás viendo, desde tu opinión, Ariel, el hecho de que otros países, en este caso Dinamarca y Países Bajos, ahora manden este tipo de armamento, cazas de combate, a Ucrania? Dicen que es para defensa propia. ¿Cómo lo ves?
Bueno, defensa propia no, porque son armas de ataque, ¿no? O sea, son equipos de ataque, son equipos muy letales, tan probados como muy letales. Sí, y no siempre hay por qué reaccionar así. Creo, insisto, todo esto que está pasando de los drones y algunos ataques allí también dentro de Crimea, en realidad no le hacen daño específico a Rusia y no va a cambiar el curso de la guerra. Sé que es difícil de entender. Uno dice, bueno, si le tiran drones, que le tire un misil. Y esta disproporción, no siempre todos los gobiernos ni todos los líderes políticos reaccionan de la misma manera. Estamos acostumbrados por las películas de Hollywood, estamos acostumbrados por estos prepotentes que hay allí en Washington, a que me haces algo y yo te tiro con todo. Y no es así, y no debe ser así. Y el mundo que viene no tiene por qué ser así. Y vamos a ver, Rusia reaccione desmesuradamente. Y esta gente se mide, dice, no está en mi interés, hace un cálculo y dice, no sería lo mejor que yo reaccione aniquilando, destruyendo toda Kiev, por ejemplo. Cosa que, una vez más, pueden hacer y podrían hacerlo, tienen los medios técnicos. Entonces, esta mentalidad que se nos ha instalado en el mundo en las últimas décadas de creer que si alguien me hace algo y si soy el más fuerte, uso mi fuerza desmesuradamente, como sí hacen los norteamericanos. Insisto, lo hicieron en Afganistán, en Irak, en Siria, en Libia, en Sudán, y lo quieren hacer ahora en Níger otra vez, Marta.
Pero buen favor le está haciendo a la señora Yellen y también al señor Biden. Un último asunto relacionado con los BRICS. Acaban de confirmar desde esta cumbre de Johannesburgo que van a ir más de 40 jefes de Estado externos a los BRICS, pero que ya han enviado solicitud. Imagino a presionar, aunque dudo que veamos 40 inscripciones en los BRICS en 3 días, Sergio.
Sí, ya serían 45 países, ¿no? Una barbaridad, pero lo que queda claro con esto, José, es una muestra de fuerza, está sacando pecho, desde luego, el bloque de los BRICS, que ha confirmado, como bien decías, que más de 40 jefes de Estado, ojo que pocas veces seguramente se darán reuniones de este calibre, de este tipo, están actualmente programados para asistir a la cumbre anual que va a tener lugar la semana que viene en Sudáfrica, del 22 al 24 de agosto. Esto es lo que ha dicho un informe del Ministerio de Relaciones Exteriores de Brasil, que ha confirmado que los líderes ya están viajando actualmente para participar en este evento. Son del continente africano y del continente asiático, también de América Latina y de Medio Oriente. Además, la alianza ya está configurada para presentar a 23 países, que son de momento los que han presentado oficialmente su solicitud para entrar al bloque. De estos 40 jefes de Estado, como les decía, ya ha recibido 23 invitaciones formales, 23 solicitudes de membresía. Estos incluyen a países como, por ejemplo, Argentina, Arabia Saudí, estos dos son algunos de los favoritos, Indonesia, Irán y Egipto. Además, también Brasil ha confirmado que las directrices o la ampliación están previstas para ser discutidas. Se va a hablar sobre los criterios y los estándares que se van a adoptar para informar de la entrada de nuevos miembros al grupo. Además, también ha confirmado que las monedas locales van a ser un tema de conversación vital, sobre todo hablando de la famosa desdolarización, de la que tanto hablamos aquí en Negocios Televisión, abordando la continua maniobra de alejamiento del dólar estadounidense. Muchas cuestiones a tratar.
Caliente, amigos de Sin Mentiras, información de última hora, siempre primero por aquí. Restan pocas horas para que se inicie la cumbre en Johannesburgo, en Sudáfrica, la cumbre que puede cambiar los lineamientos y la estructura, la arquitectura mundial. Es una oportunidad de oro. Los BRICS se van a reunir, los presidentes de India, de Brasil, de Sudáfrica, de China, de Rusia, van a estar ahí reunidos. Putin lo va a hacer vía videoconferencia y Lavrov lo va a sustituir vía presencial. Estamos hablando, amigos de Sin Mentiras, de una oportunidad histórica donde se van a discutir allí la moneda, una moneda en común. Se va a discutir la expansión de los BRICS, se va a discutir sobre la desdolarización, se va a discutir sobre todos estos aspectos, cómo este bloque pudiera transformar en una nueva arquitectura mundial que